Welcome to Sports from the Couch.
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
With your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello, friends, and welcome into another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your Monday, March 8th, 2021, here in the beautiful city of Chicago. I hope each and every one of you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys are all being safe and sound wherever you are. We have ourselves a busy show, an interesting show. We just got news from the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, that the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox will be allowing 20% capacity at Wrigley Field and at Guarantee Rate Field. So we got to get into what that means, what the restrictions are, and the temperature of the city of Chicago. But before we get to all that, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. You can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the network at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you could get ad-free and before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out on our store at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. And keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network. From our true crime show, the pop culture show, our sister podcast, the Gone Missing podcast, by following us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves.
There are no fans here, Mayor.
Tim, I'm just practicing. Give me a minute.
Think you got more in the tank, Mayor Lightfoot? Woo-woo! I knew you had it in you.
Let's play ball, Chicago.
Eloy hits it high in the air. Way up and out of here. Bring him home. Adam Engel is there. Sox are going to the playoffs.
You will watch October baseball this year.
Hey, Sox fans. Can't wait to have you back at Guarantee Rate Field. See you there.
So there you have it, baseball fans here in Chicago. You will be able to watch your Chicago Cubs or your Chicago White Sox in person this season, this summer, this spring. This is coming from the announcement from the mayor's office. So we have some quotes we need to get to, and we have some things we need to talk about. That was coming into this segment. You heard the announcement that was dropped on social media from the mayor's Twitter, and then the White Sox had a video that came out right after the Cubs tweeted out welcoming back their fans. So this is going in full steam ahead come April, and we need to talk about it here on Sports from the Couch. So first, this is from WBBM News Radio on Twitter. Mayor Lightfoot announcing that fans will be allowed into Guaranteed Rate Field and Wrigley Field for the respective opening days. Attendance will be capped at 20% of ballpark capacity, roughly 8,000 fans in attendance. This is then coming from the Twitter accounts of Lori Lightfoot. Folks, we've significantly slowed the spread of COVID, getting our positivity rate down to 2.8%. And now we can begin to safely welcome fans back to our baseball stands on opening day. Although we're reopening, masking is still of utmost importance. And then we started getting the news down, the protocols. What will it be going on at Wrigley Field and at Guaranteed Rate Field? And if you would like to get a more comprehensive look and a more in-detail look from what these two teams and the city are putting into place, you can check them out at Cubs.com, on WhiteSox.com, MLB.com. But here's kind of the basis idea. Those protocols are physically distanced seating assigned by pods of 1 to 6. So it's pretty cool. You're going to be able to get that little section. You're going to be able to have a group of 1 to 6 people be able to watch a game. You're going to have your own little space. And I think, all in all, we can always argue that's one of the big things of Wrigley Field and more Wrigley than it is the South Side, but no room, no space. So that's kind of a benefit. Mobile ticketing for contactless entry and contact tracing. So this is interesting because the Cubs have kind of gone full mobile virtual tickets. I'm actually part of a season ticket package, and that was the one thing that we kept having to use was the app. You weren't really doing like we used to do when you would do StubHub or some of these other apps. So they're going to go full technology on that brand. Mandatory masks worn properly by everyone ages 2 and up. So this is important for any of you families out there, for any of you parents that want to bring a child to the game and you don't want to have to deal with the fuss or everything that happens to dealing with the child, let alone a child that has to wear a mask, that it's going to be from the ages 2 and up. So we're talking about toddlers. We're talking about kids that, are going to be defensive enough to not want to have a mask on. They're going to keep taking it off. So that's something to plan. And it's also something to realize that while around the country, there are a lot of places that are getting rid of the mandatory mask rules. Here in Chicago, which has been a very progressive city, or should I say a conservative one when it comes to its implement of being able to open back up and letting people, let's say like Texas or like Florida, right? The mandates are over, even though some of the businesses are still making you wear the mask. To see Chicago finally allow people into stadiums, and it being an outdoor stadium definitely has something to do with it. But this is a sign for a lot of more conservative states when it came to opening and when they came to being really fast through the closures. And, this isn't a political thing. This is something to kind of keep your eye on. Let's say you're in California or you're in New York or any one of these cities or states that had quick close downs and you guys haven't been able to go anywhere. This is I think, a indication on where things are heading. If Chicago's letting 20% of people into their stadiums, maintaining physical distancing around and throughout the ballpark. So again, that's something where you're going to be able to go into the stadium. You're going to be able to watch the game. You're going to have to wear your mask, and you're not going to be able to be at the concourse, being able to just hang around in between innings, get away from the elements. They're still going to be on you about it. At least that's what it seems like. Now, this also is from the White Sox side. And this is really important for you White Sox fans because I know how much this has to deal with the entire experience, but no tailgating. That's a huge one for the South Side. I mean, a big selling point for the White Sox when it comes to enjoying a summer game against the Twins or Cleveland or Detroit is being able to have a awesome tailgate before the game, before you get into guaranteed rate. You're not going to be able to do that this summer. So keep that in mind. And I guess you have to make some compromises if you want to be able to play baseball with fans in the stands in the city of Chicago. And one of those being no tailgating. Gonna be really fascinating to see how the fans react to that and how much they really enforce that rule over in the parking lots. Here is another rule that some might find annoying unless they do a little research before they go into the stadium. No bags will be allowed except for small clutch purses, medical bags, or diaper bags when infants is present. So again, you're going to have to be able to pack. You're going to have to be able to prepare properly for this. And you need to be able to plan your entire day knowing these restrictions, these rules, these regulations that are going to be part of the package of going to one of these games. So I guess the real question that I've been getting since this news broke out and knowing what these rules are going to be and what it's going to take to go to the games is whether or not it's worth it. And I don't think that's a fair question to ask people because it's going to be a person-to-person thing, especially in the world that we're living in now where people are being vaccinated and people are starting to at least, it seems like people are trying to pull the rope in the same direction and just try to get this over with as best they can. So in my opinion, the question isn't whether I want to go there or not. It's to the individual. If you're a parent who's really wanted to go to a Cubs game or a White Sox game all for the last year and a half, but you have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old that you want to take to the game, do you want to take them to the game in that experience, having to wear a mask, and on top of being in the elements? And this is strictly for opening day, so we have to see how this keeps going. But we're not even mentioning or putting into the idea of a variant of a different type of strain. And, I know a lot of people who are listening to this think this might be some type of political thing. Oh, Mike, we got to keep them open, or Mike, we got to keep it closed. We're just speaking on what scientists and what the facts are in front of us. We know wear social distancing, wear a mask. We've been told by the experts who are smarter than us in this, that helps keep this down. We've heard that vaccinations work. We've also been told that the spread is going down, that the infection rate is down, that being outdoors is okay. But I'm also not going to judge somebody who wants to go to one of these games, who's been dying to, and they are willing to do that with their child, or they are willing to do that with a group of 6 people. I think the other argument is then you cannot be mad at the other side of the conversation. The person who isn't comfortable yet going to a game, being in a stadium. We're in uncharted waters for a lot of people, for everybody, right? Just living in a post-pandemic world that we're heading towards. But we have to understand that everybody's mentality, everybody's life, their movie that they've been living is so different from everybody else's. So this idea of being able to enjoy a game, have a hot dog, have a beer, while still knowing that there's this invisible killer out there. That is not a political thing. That is not a left or right thing. There's a virus out there that gets spread amongst people when there's close contact. And when you're in a stadium, even with 8,000 people, that's more likely to happen than if you were, at home. So you can't be mad at the person who's kind of has that mentality. I'm also not going to be mad at the person who wants to go to a game. Because if you have been doing everything the right way, and if the government is telling you you can do this, if one of the most cautious cities in the entire country has decided that it is okay to have 20% capacity, then you have to be fair to that situation and understand that what else is a person supposed to do then? If nothing else, they're supposed to listen to the people in charge, telling them it's safe, as long as they're following the guidelines. So it's a very complicated situation, I think, person to person. I think it's encouraging for people who have been very pessimistic about how we're going to get through this, if the summertime, any type of normality. I think that's really cool. And then for the optimists, obviously, it's if Chicago is letting people into stadiums, that must mean that we're actually moving along this damn thing. Because it's one thing if it's Texas, if it's Florida, again, and not a political thing, but states that have kind of been more gung-ho with it. And have just kind of tried to move forward and live a quote-unquote the normal life during this. Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, they have not been like that. And to see Chicago now kind of be like, okay, we're going to start opening up this. It's an interesting story. It's an interesting way for this to start to get itself going. And good vibes here in Chicago. Because now you got to think, there's always going to be the jokes of, White Sox fans are still going to have the most people that they've ever had, only 8,000. It's a bunch of funny jokes because growing up as Cub fans, there were plenty of times the Cubs, Wrigley Field was not filled with people. But it's just nice to know that these two interesting baseball teams will have fans in the stands. And there will be people able to enjoy what should be a very fun journey for the White Sox and what should be a very compelling season for the Cubs. And we're not even talking about what this means for actually on the field. I actually have some quotes. Quote, the atmosphere around Wrigley Field on a day game or just a game in general, I don't know if there's anything like it in professional sports. Cubs manager David Ross after Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced plans for the return of fans on opening day. Ross on fans returning to Wrigley Field continued, you can't get any better than that. Fans back in the stands. It's already been nice here in Arizona just to hear the cheers and the heckling. We're super grateful for that. Now we'll see how Rossi feels about this after the whole Pedro Strop thing, who he broke protocol and is now doing his own quarantine and has been away from the team. And we've seen Ross even been quoted saying that he doesn't believe Pedro Strop should apologize to the team. But with this moving forward, right, and it's kind of been the theme of today's episode of, trying to have some optimism and things are moving forward. And if Chicago's the one doing this, then maybe things are looking brighter. If that's the case, we need to make sure, or at least I'm hoping, that the players are making sure that they're still being very cautious. Because while things are looking brighter and things are moving forward, and while sometimes it feels forced, the fact does remain that we are it's going to happen. We're going to get to opening day. We're going to have baseball games. And just like anything in life, I think this is much more a comparison than other conversations we have in sports about comparing our lives to theirs. One of the comparisons that we've all lived through that a lot of us kind of have in common right now is just trying our best to stay healthy, to be vigilant, and just to make sure that we're taking care of ours and our own so that at the very least, those who can go to work can go. And it's the same thing in sports. These guys have had to make sure that they're very stingy about who they're hanging out with, when they're hanging out with them, and the risk they're willing to take so that they don't get infected with COVID-19 or anything else that just muddles the field. That's the thing too, right? It doesn't have to just be the Rona. It could be the flu, it could be the cold, it could be a stomach bug. Could be anything that just changes the entire operation. What if you get into a car accident, you have to go see a doctor, that doctor has an outbreak of COVID for some of his patients, changes the entire thing, and you never did anything wrong. So while even though the Cubs have had a hiccup with this, we know that they took it very serious last season. We're just hoping as a sports fan here in Chicago that both teams are going to be able to do what they're supposed to, be responsible, and make sure that they're following all the protocols and they don't get sucked into the fact that they're going to have fans in the stands. You're only going to be able to enjoy it, right, if they're able to play games. But even though I'm nervous, and I'm nervous about this because we don't know what's next. And I live my life this way. I don't pretend to be smarter than I am. And I don't pretend to be smarter than people who are smarter than me. I don't pretend to know things that I don't know. So if, even though I don't necessarily agree or it doesn't make me the happiest or, the most optimistic or for that matter, just it bumps me out. If the government is saying this is the 20% capacity, this is safe. The CDC is saying different reports now about wearing a mask, not wearing a mask post-vaccination. If people aren't being vaccinated, I have to be a little hopeful. Because if I'm hopeful about the damn teams on the field, I have to be hopeful about society. Otherwise, what's the point? I just hope the players stay cautious. I just hope they stay cautious. They tried their best last season. Baseball couldn't stay out of its own way, and we still had coronavirus controversy in the last game of the World Series with the team that won the damn thing. So enjoy this, fans, because yes, this is a step to normalcy. This is a step to brighter days. The summertime in Chicago is one of the best places to be in the entire world, and to be able to enjoy a cold beverage, a delicious meal, and some awesome baseball in the north and south side of Chicago. Some of the best things you can do in this country. And if we're going to do it in this new world that we're living in, as long as we're all cautious, as long as the organizations and the city are cautious and the players are cautious, this might work. And at the very least, we're going to be hopeful that does. But let me know your thoughts. Are you going to be going to games? How much money are you willing to spend to get one of these precious tickets to the north or south side for some Chicago baseball? Let us know your thoughts. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. And that'll do it for us on this edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Don't forget, you can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the network at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you could get ad-free and before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out on our store at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves, and keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network, from our true crime show, the pop culture show, our sister podcast, the Gone Missing podcast, by following us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy all the games. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.